iPhone 5S versus Samsung Galaxy J3 Emerge. That's coming up right now. Let's go. So, what is up, guys? Nick here from Everything Tech, and welcome to this iPhone 5S versus Samsung Galaxy J3 Emerge comparison video. Let's begin with the boot up test of both devices in 3, 2, and let's go here. And let's put them back down on the desk here. And instead of just doing an app speed test, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my experiences with both. Now, I have been reading your comments, and you've been saying that oh, the J3 Emerge is a downgrade from last year. And in some areas it might be, but I think some areas it's actually an improvement over last year. And the first one I want to talk about, let's see who gets there to the home screen first here. But with the J3 Emerge, the first one I want to talk about is the design. I think the design actually looks much more sleek and modern than last year's. It's got this nice curve to it, and it kind of feels like a baby S7 that's gray. So if you've seen the Galaxy S7, if you don't look at the back, it kind of feels like that same size. It's got that same look and feel on the front, and it's about the same weight, honestly, as the Galaxy S7 here. So you can see the J3 Emerge did beat the iPhone 5S to the home screen, which is expected here. Now on the iPhone 5S, you do have that, that standard Retina display from years and years and years ago. Ever since the 4S, it's pretty much the same display, 326 pixels per inch. Over here on the Galaxy J3 Emerge, we're rocking out with a TFT LCD, not Super AMOLED, which has been quite disappointing, honestly, because I think last year's display on the J3 2016 was actually better than this one on the 5S. But actually, I think the 5S display is better than this one here on the J3 Emerge, only slightly though. Now don't be fooled. The J3 Emerge, just because it doesn't have Super AMOLED does not mean it's not a nice display. It's still IPS, you can still read it pretty good, and actually it wasn't that pixely, and you could still read text pretty easily here. 720p HD is still good on a 5-inch screen. I mean, you don't need that much resolution on a screen of this size here. Let me go into settings here and make sure I have my display auto lock on 5 minutes so it doesn't keep turning off in the middle of the video here. But other than that, let's talk about something else. What about the cameras on both of these devices? So I'm going to take my lens caps cover here from my camera and go ahead and take a picture here on the 5S, which also still has a great camera. And honestly, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between a 5S camera and something like an iPhone 6S camera, because the iPhone cameras have only been slight upgrades over the years. So you can see still a pretty great camera here for the iPhone 5S. Quality is pretty solid here on the Lumix. You can see right there. Now let's go over here on the Samsung and let's do a camera test here. We're actually going to do some more pictures outside with the J3 Emerge. I'm thinking about doing a camera review if enough of you guys request it. But the picture here, quality here on this 5 megapixel, definitely not as good as what you're going to find there on the 5S. But in good lighting, you still get a decent image here. Even like lower megapixel cameras on a Samsung devices have usually performed quite well in the past. So let me get that out of there now. And you could see even that software is a little bit different here on the J3 Emerge. So you can see it's got that newer look and feel here on the right. And if we go to the front, hello there, and you could see that we do have the ability to swipe over here for edits and go here to the left for sound shots. So simplified camera here on the Emerge. You don't get a lot of features or a lot of programs, no manual control there within that camera app here. But let's talk about another thing. So battery life has definitely been much better here on the J3 Emerge over this iPhone 5S. iPhone 5S battery life is kind of disappointing, honestly. I don't really like it. And I don't even use the iPhone 5S like that anymore due to its battery life. And it's just becoming pretty outdated now in terms of, if I compare it to my Note 5 or my 6S Plus, I will be getting the iPhone 8 later this year when it does drop. So yeah, other than that, the iPhone 5S is still a pretty good phone though. Even though it's not the best battery life, it's still a pretty good phone here. And the iPhone 5S does have a fingerprint scanner, whereas on the J3 Emerge, you don't get a fingerprint scanner. Now, the intention of this video are specifically to help those people out on Boost Mobile, because you can still pick up a iPhone 5S here versus a J3 Emerge. You can pick both these up now on Boost Mobile, so still pretty relevant here because you can still walk into the store and buy either one of these devices for Boost here. So one nice thing about the Samsung is that the removable back. So this removable back is going to allow you to expand your storage here, as most Samsung devices have in the past. I don't got a card in there, but that takes up to 256 gigs. And so if you're trying to get a cheap phone with big time storage, the J3 Emerge can do that there. Now, in terms of price, this phone is retailing for $234.99. I found this one at Walmart for $79.99, which is a huge saving. So if you can cop this one at a local Walmart or something, or you can find it online for cheaper, try to do that, because $234, I don't think this device is quite worth $234, to be honest with you here. So you do get about 293 pixels per inch here on the Galaxy J3 Emerge, whereas you get 326. So in terms of the display, I talked about them a little bit earlier. The iPhone 5S is a little bit better, but this is kind of similar to the 5S as it's an LCD and not an AMOLED display. But I believe when you turn on this outdoors mode, it gets a bit brighter than the 5S, or at least as bright as it. So you can see right there, full brightness. So definitely pretty good stuff for that outdoors mode here on the J3 Emerge. Now let's do a little bit of an app test here on both devices just to see how they perform. Let's go ahead and close everything out here. On the iPhone 5S, everything is closed there on the J3 Emerge. And I've actually had pretty flawless performance here on the J3 Emerge. Not a fast phone by no means, but what I mean by flawless is no lag, no app crashes so far on the J3 Emerge. Let's go into Calculator. And you can see the J3 Emerge came out ahead on that test. Let's come home. And you can see about the same to the home screen. I think slightly quicker on the J3 Emerge. Let's go into camera on both. And you could see J3 Emerge slightly faster on the camera there. Let's come home here. And J3 Emerge slightly quicker home. So it might be because this is a newer device, but the animations on the J3 Emerge are very similar to iOS 10. You know, Samsung and Apple are always copying each other. Pretty standard stuff these days. Let's go to Pixlr here, and you could see J3 Emerge once again beats iPhone 5S. So the J3 Emerge is beating the iPhone 5S pretty much on every test here. Let's go ahead and try something like YouTube. Let's go to YouTube on both devices. And let's just go to my channel here on both. Let's go to Nick Ackerman there. Let's go to Nick Ackerman on this one. Over here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're over here trying to help you with your technology life. Have a bunch of great videos over here for you guys to watch on the daily. Learn a little bit here, learn a little bit there. And we would love to have you around here, so do that if you haven't already. But you can see about the same loading. Let's try up a video here. J3 Emerge. So the J3 Emerge, like I'm saying, I'm not sure if it's the new processor because it's a newer phone, but it does have, I believe this is an octa-core CPU in here. Let me check CPU-Z. It might be a quad though. Let's check this out here. Looks like a quad actually. So a quad core A53 core text, A53 cores there, 1.4 gigahertz. So not the fastest clock speed I've ever seen, but it's performing quite well. And it might be due to the fact that it's only 720p, 1.5 gigs of RAM. So it should be plenty for day-to-day tasks. But one thing I did notice about the J3 Emerge is that it was, like I said, the performance was good, but it just doesn't feel blazing fast. And I mean, I wouldn't expect that, but these days it's not hard to get a blazing fast phone for an affordable price point, and this phone is just not blazing fast. It definitely works well. There's no lags or no hangs, and every app opened just fine, but it's not a blazing fast phone. So don't expect super beast speed here on the J3 Emerge. It's just not happening over here. Let's try the App Store and the Play Store and see what happens there. Play Store beats the iPhone 5S. So iPhone 5S is getting a little bit slower here. And I know a lot of people say, that's just your iPhone 5S, Nick. Ha, ha, ha. Actually, no. The iPhone 5S is about 3 years old, going on 4. It's getting old. I mean, just face the facts. The phone's getting old. Over here, you could see Calculator. The iPhone 5S there won that one. But just because it's old doesn't mean it doesn't perform well. I'm just saying that. Don't expect the iPhone 5S to live on forever to beat every budget smartphone, because it's just not going to do it forever. I mean, it has beat quite a few, and it's been pretty shocking that Apple's able to keep their phone this good for this long, but it's getting to a point now where budget phones are surpassing the iPhone 5S in terms of speed. But one thing you're going to get on the 5S that you're never going to get on these budget phones, at least until now, unless you go with something like a Blue device, because Blue does do some pretty budget phones with metal build, but metal build. You're not going to get that quality metal build here on this Samsung device. Took a little drop there, slammed it. But you can see over here, got the Samsung, looking like metal, but it's not quite metal. So yeah, But this really is a pretty nice design. I mean, it kind of looks like the LG G5 from the sides here. But I mean, when you look at it front on, people say, oh, it looks like any other Samsung device. But when you look at it from the side and from the back and from the corners, it's more of a curvy display, very ergonomic. So I've been really liking ergonomics here. I do have to test this more to give you a full review on this guy. But overall, I would say if you're deciding between the iPhone 5S on Boost or the Galaxy J3 Emerge, I think the iPhone 5S is the better phone. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's the better phone. I mean, the camera is better, and that's important on a smartphone because these replace your cameras mostly. Most people don't want to bring out a big old camera. And the iPhone 5S's camera is definitely better here than the J3 Emerge over here. Now, the screen is a little bit clearer on the iPhone 5S, but because it's smaller, there's more scrolling. So I found myself to be quite even in my personal experience with both. I preferred the J3 Emerge a little bit because it had a bigger screen, but I preferred the iPhone 5S for its sharp and accurate colors. Definitely this is a downgrade from last year's J3 Emerge or J3 with the, with the Super AMOLED display, but I think the J3 Emerge is a performance, it's a better feeling phone. Like the software feels a little bit snappier than last year's, and it looks more modern. You get the modern icons, you get the modern theme store and stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say so far about the J3 Emerge versus the iPhone 5S. Go with the iPhone 5S if you want that pretty build. Just know that this phone is getting outdated, and psychologically it feels outdated. You know you got the old boy. Even if you want to say it looks like the SE, you know in your mind you got the old boy. Whereas the Samsung feels like a great, modern, cheap phone if you can catch it for under $100. I wouldn't spend more than $100 for this guy over here. But, Samsung does make pretty reliable phones and consistent software experience these days. The older TouchWiz was a little bit laggy, but they've definitely caught up and they're doing much better with their software, I believe, here in 2017. So yeah, that's going to wrap this one up of the iPhone 5S versus the J3 Emerge. Those are my experiences, opinions on which one you should go with if you're deciding between these two. But what are your thoughts? Which device would you go with? The iPhone 5S on Boost or the Galaxy J3 Emerge? Comment that down below in the comment section of this video. I would love to chat with you guys about that. I'll try to get back to as many comments as I can. Subscribe to the channel for more technology videos like this. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. I will catch you all in the next one. This was Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.